and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new The Burning Truth live with myself, Scott Barratt, and the one and only Matt Burns.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nice surprise. You know, it feels something's different about The Burning Truth right now.
We've regenerated.
Yeah, we have regenerated. Definitely. You know, it feels like it's another regeneration. Another co-host and everything.
Yeah, here I am, brand new, like a little baby just poking out of a lady. and that's pretty much how this is going to go, guys. So we're here to talk you through all this week's wrestling news, some review on this week's WWE, AEW, and any other bits and pieces that we decide to talk about. And then we've got some fun segments towards the end of the show. We're going to do a top three. We're going to do our Buried Alive segment, which you should be really excited about. And we're also going to do Rebook This. So loads and loads to go after in the next hour. Just, get yourself a cup of coffee because it's going to get good.
That it is, and some of you might have already noticed just from what's been mentioned, the format's completely different. So straight away, we've actually got a format. We've got direction. We've got direction.
Yeah, this isn't going to be your normal 3-hour podcast. This is going to be short and sweet. We're aiming for about an hour, and hopefully you can get everything you need from us within that hour for the entire week. And do you know what? If it's not enough, just come back next week, because the plan is that we'll be here each and every week with lots and lots of wrestling content.
And possibly some interesting golden nuggets.
Golden nuggets. Okay, so we're talking cereal too, guys.
Exactly. But anyway, how shall we start off to get things jiving, shall we?
Well, I think there's only one way to go, and that's to speak about the news.
The news. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Yeah, so loads of news this week. Kyle, Matt Burns, kick in.
You on about me cousin again?
Your cousin.
he almost every version he always pops in.
Put a pound in the jar.
Someone always mentions me cousin. Pound in the jar. I love it. I absolutely love it. But yeah, the good thing about it is with this week we've got 3 topics of news. The first one being the health of Vince McMahon.
Oh, uncomfortable. This uncomfortable.
It's awkward because at the same time it's like, nobody wants anybody to be, in the worst, dying or anything. But at the same time, some people are sitting there thinking, is he a monster? Is he not? What the hell's going on? We don't know the current events. It's all over the place.
Yeah, and it's not one that we anybody really wants to talk about it because of everything that's going on in terms of the litigation and the huge allegations that have been made against him, and we believe at this point could
tip anyway.
Yeah,
tip any direction. And the thing is, with the Burning Truth right now, we're not actually picking a side because we only deal with the facts.
I mean, no, but if what comes out is true, then
definitely.
Absolutely despicable human being.
Definitely.
But yes, it came out this week that Vince obviously wasn't feeling too great and that his health was in serious decline.
Yeah.
I think is what the article said that I read on What Culture. Shout out those guys.
Yeah, of course. There's What Culture. Well, there's loads of them. There's loads of them that keeps everything all up to date and everything. Either WrestleFest, WrestleMedia. There's always a dirt sheet available at times, but sometimes you've got to take them with a bit of a pinch of salt.
Absolutely, because then later in the week it came out that these reports were actually incorrect and that there was no issue with Vince's health. So at this point, really, I suppose, is this news or is it no news?
Who knows?
Who knows what news this news is?
But then again, no news can be good news.
I think definitely no news is good news in terms of Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Shall we move on swiftly from Vince McMahon?
Yeah, we shall. And shall we jump over to Raw?
Oh, okay, yeah, so Raw, loads going on at the minute, but probably the best story coming out of the Raw at the moment is Judgment Day.
Judgment Day. That, I will say, has had me gripped coming back almost every week.
Yeah, fantastic story. I think some of the beats that they've got in that story currently, some of the character progression, what's going on with Dirty Dom, Liv, and then even on the other side with Finn Balor and Damien's been, absolutely fantastic to watch.
Exactly. Because how many people can sit there and say that they've actually, normally when you hear a turn, you normally instantly think of, heel to face, face to heel, not from heel to super heel.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And is this Dom completely? He's an absolute rat bastard. That guy.
Oh, definitely. And the weird thing about it is the speculation of the entire angle is there's been a bit of a backlash recently because of a whole new name change.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, the actual name, because WWE have actually put in for a trademark of Street Trash. Now, this is from a bit of a segment involving Gunter calling Damian Priest Street Trash, which it didn't exactly sit well with many. But the difference is, I can see what they were aiming for with Finn Balor is the fact of he's playing the psychological game.
Yeah, and I can see it. I can also see how it works as a name. I think I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to it, and I'm not sure why it's produced so much noise online. I
think it's more or less sort of to do with Priest's heritage of where he's come from, more or less. I think, more or less. But at the same time, I don't see an actual issue with it. I think what it's going to be is now it's going to be more of a Judgment Day Street Trash.
Like an offshoot of.
Yeah, an offshoot. Now, the weird thing about it is they've already got designs and merchandise already prepared for it already. So the actual name's still going to go ahead. It's just possibly going to be on an offshoot, because I think the idea was to name Balor's group Street Trash and have the Judgment Day name with Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. Now, the one thing I will say is they've actually got another option, which what made me laugh recently, that I saw online, which is someone suggested, why don't they just rename Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley instead of having them as Judgment Day, have them as the Terror Twins?
Okay. I hate that. I do. I think I hate that.
You hate that?
Yeah, I do. I want to see Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley go separate ways shortly after this is resolved with the Judgment Day. I think they've had great runs as heels together, but I think for me it's time for them to branch out and go solo. I think Rhea Ripley needs to go back to dominating the women's division, and Damian Priest needs to find his own way as a babyface now. I haven't really believed him in this heel role over the last couple of years. I don't necessarily like him as a main eventer, and I don't necessarily think I ever really bought him as the champion. I do like him as a mid card character, and I think for me he probably reached his ceiling for me as United States champion. That's probably where I see him. But I'm happy to be proven wrong. I think the whole Street Trash idea, again, I'm not necessarily against the name. I don't understand the backlash online. Happy for that to be challenged with anyone. And by all means, leave us a comment if you're listening on the website or on YouTube, or send us an email at info@theburningtruthuk.com, and we'll hash it out. But for me, I don't mind the name Street Trash. I actually think I'd like to move on from the Judgment Day name. I think it's a completely different group now.
It's a revamp, yeah. I get where you're coming from, and the weird thing about it is because I feel as though I can agree with you on that one, because the whole Judgment Day theme seems to be more centered around Rhea and Priest, whereas this new group doesn't feel like it's like a Judgment Day. It doesn't feel quite, because you've got Carlito, Liv Morgan in there. It's not as foreboding. It's
not at all.
Especially when you've got Dirty Dom doing what he's doing.
Yeah, it's absolutely not powerful characters now. It's sleazy, weaselly characters. And that's why I think the name Street Trash fits, but that's just me. Hey, what do I know? I'm just the new co-host.
You might be a new co-host, but the difference is, it's something I can actually agree with you on that one. For me personally, I think the name is... I get why there's the negativity, but at the same time, me personally... It's a name. It's a name. And the funny thing about it is when we first started with Judgment Day, nobody was on board with it. Then all of a sudden, everybody was on board with it.
Came around quick, didn't it?
Yeah. It could be another one of those scenarios. Shall we move on to SmackDown?
Ooh, big news on SmackDown. In fact, is it big news? I'm not sure it is. This week, Bobby Lashley and MVP were officially moved to the alumni section of the WWE website. I mean, what do we think about that?
Well, I might actually have a bit of extra news to sprinkle on top of that right now as well, because there's been a speculation of someone putting in for a trademark for Hurt Syndicate.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so is that potentially we think is going to go to AEW or
Who knows?
Impact Wrestling?
I think that is more or less of. I think that might be more MVP aiming for that, and probably still being linked with Bobby Lashley, which you can't blame him.
No, and I absolutely think potentially that, you know, if I was any promotion out there in the world right now, New Japan Pro Wrestling are dying out for a stable like this at the minute.
Yeah.
For characters like this. And I think, you know, going to a New Japan would be a really, really good place for them. Can they go to AEW and make a boatload of money? Yes. Will it be successful? Probably not, because, you know, as we go through these weeks, guys, probably what you're going to get from me is I'm not the biggest AEW fan. I think that the product's terrible. And I think they'll be wasted. Something like the Bobby Lashley MVP stable, the Hurt Business, whatever they're going to call themselves, you know, will be absolutely wasted in AEW.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's where we'll probably disagree, but then again, that can also bring, conflict of interest. Why not? But I do think the whole fact of him going to New Japan is the right step.
Yeah, somewhere like that, you know, and if they turn up in AEW, that's fine, but...
It might be the fact that they could be linked to New Japan, sign up to New Japan, and they might have an offshoot into AEW.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, straight away, it won't exactly be a bad thing, but it's like, it's an extra payday.
Yeah, and there are other promotions out there, you know. The Hurt Business could do big business for GCW.
Oh.
Yeah, see?
Definitely.
Yeah, some massive stuff there.
You know, forbidden doors, many doors... wide open.
Yep. So that's 3 pieces of news, and really, that's no news.
Yeah, pretty much.
What a week for the news.
Pretty much.
What a week we decided to start this.
I know. It just seems like it's just what's going on?
Shall we talk about this week's shows?
We shall. Where would you like to go to first?
Well, have you seen any WWE or AEW this week?
Yes.
Start us off.
I have actually seen some of the some of the Raw stuff, as we've said, the whole Judgment Day situation. We've already talked enough about that. I think at the moment right now we need to be focusing on, you know, the next event. You know, it's in Berlin.
Bash in Berlin.
You know, Bash in Berlin. We've got Gunther, who seems to be on an absolute tirade of that entire division.
He's just the perfect wrestler, isn't he? You know, and he's something completely different to what WWE's got. And I just think he's absolutely fantastic. I'm a big fan of Gunther. And you know what? When he first came onto the scene in NXT UK, I wasn't familiar with him, and I wasn't necessarily sold. And oh my God, over the last few years, have I had my opinion changed, because what an absolute animal.
I'm lucky enough to have seen his work prior to his Gunther days, and the fact that, you know, he's got the chop. That's not a chop. I've said this previously on past episodes. That's not a chop. That's a cardiac arrest.
Absolutely. And some of the stuff they said this week has been absolutely fantastic. So really laying into the story of this match between Gunther and Randy. And he's been saying, you know, he was quoted this week as saying, I think Randy's career is undeniable. But on the other hand, we got to be honest, he was destined to be the greatest of all time. And all the bad decisions he made in his career and the issues he had, he still is one of the greatest. But he wasted a lot of potential. That's throwing huge shade on Randy Orton.
And then on top of that, he's also throwing shade at his family.
Absolutely. You know, he went on to say, I'm not in the business of wasting potential. I think I overexceeded in a lot of ways, and I think Randy is the opposite. I think even though he achieved a lot, I still think he underachieved for his talent.
Oh,
you know, that's huge. And I think, you know, they're building this story so well that, you know, it's actually the match in Berlin that I'm most interested in at this point.
And yet, a lot of people might sit there and say the ending is, it's already saying it's already predictable. We already know who's winning. Regardless of it, but you know, whether you know it or not, you want to see it, because you want to know exactly how it's going to turn out. And who knows, he might walk away with the championship, but it might either be with a limp, or he could even be unconscious due to disqualification. Who knows?
It's going to be really interesting for how it goes, because on one hand, it seems really predictable that Gunther comes out champion and wins the match, but WWE have had a lot of long title reigns in recent memory.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they chucked a bit of a flip-flop on. Ooh. Because even if Randy beat him in Berlin. And let's be honest, when wrestlers have gone into championship matches in hometowns or home countries in the last few years, let's think about Drew McIntyre. Let's think about Sami Zayn. Let's think about now Gunther in Berlin. You know, there's nothing saying Gunther is 100% going to win this match, and that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Because WWE does like to put wrestlers down in their home countries, towns, etc. There's a history of doing that.
And you've brought up 2 points I wanted to bring. There's 3 points I want to bring up for Raw, which straight away the feud between CM Punk and Drew, and then you throw in a bit of Seth Rollins in there, who all of a sudden has now been removed, sort of.
And that's an injury, right?
What?
That's an injury, right?
Oh, 5 tsunamis.
Yeah, well, they wanted to get him onto SummerSlam as a referee because he wasn't fit enough to wrestle potentially, and then they've had to write him back out. So, I can see where Seth Rollins probably doesn't get involved there. I don't think we'll see him in Berlin, but I'm excited for him to come back.
Yeah, I can see them coming back and being the third part of that feud.
Yeah,
definitely, but not yet. Not yet.
And we're also thinking we're going to see a strap match.
Oh, definitely. Berlin. Yeah, definitely.
CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, the war rages on. We're going to get a strap match. Everybody wants to see that. I mean, I do anyway.
Yeah.
Anybody that says they're tired of Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, I don't think is a wrestling fan because
get out.
It's been out. It's been phenomenal, and it's been going on through 2 injuries. 2
injuries, and the fact that they've actually got a bracelet over.
Yeah, absolutely.
A bracelet.
Yeah, got a bracelet,
which is
over.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic, and we're talking. What else going on Raw? We've got the whole Wyatt 6 still raging on, and I think has anybody been surprised in how good they've come across as babyfaces after they killed someone on the first night?
No, it wasn't Chad Gable who he killed. It was his long lost cousin.
Chalias.
No, but the weird thing about it is, it was just a shock to the system how they did it, and yet the look of them, they looked the bee's knees. And yet I was thinking, how I thought they were going to struggle with doing the whole vignettes when it came to the wrestling section, because how do you get characters that are meant to be absolute undeniable monsters,
make them sympathetic
in a match? And yet they've somehow managed it, because I think the vignettes have also added where you seem to actually taking the mask off and showing their actual characters.
Yeah,
that I think was the clever thing.
And who do we think is the breakout star of this new group?
It's all tough.
It's what?
It's all tough in my
it is. And Dexter Lumis has come through and he looks like a completely different wrestler. Unbelievable.
If someone said that wasn't Dexter, I would have actually believed it, because it does not look like Dexter Lumis. But then you see a little bit, just the character work, the whole change. He's gone from the silent psycho to an absolute psycho, using his body for anything.
Yeah, well, he is Mercy the Buzzard now, isn't he?
Pretty much.
And then I think the breakout star of the group already is going to be Huskus the Pig. I think Gacy's fantastic. Amazing work in NXT, and then through to the main roster now. And I think this is just a stepping stone for him. I think he's going to do great things.
It's within his wheelhouse, because before he was actually in WWE, it's within his realm already. Just from his history, from what I've seen, you can see that he's enjoying it. But anyway, let's quickly move on. The only thing I will want to bring up as well is the whole Sami Zayn and Bron Breakker.
Oh right, yeah.
The 2 out of 2 falls. I think that's finally cemented Bron Breakker as definitely the next IC, was the current IC champion, stepping away from Sami, and the fact
the next challenger for Bron Breakker, is that what you think?
No. I think he's now done with Sami, and I think Sami's now sort of give.
Oh yeah, that feud's over.
Yeah,
I'm really interested to see. I mean, I know they probably both sit on the heel side of the divide. Although I think Bron Breakker could be flip-flopped quite easily.
Yeah,
I'm really interested in seeing Bron Breakker versus Bronson Reed. Because Bronson Reed currently is Bronson Reed is currently the unstoppable force.
And yeah, even though he did it on R-Truth, you heard the weird thing about it, Bronson Reed got cheered. Did you not hear them? Let's just say, one more time. I'm like, what the?
Do you know what? Sometimes people just want blood, and that's what Bronson Reed's giving them. He's just giving them blood. Poor R-Truth. Do you think when he was K-Quick in 2000, he was ever thinking he was going to be squashed by Bronson Reed in 2024?
What's up, Bronson Reed?
Poor thing. Poor thing.
Tsunami! Boom! See you later.
Did you watch any AEW this week, Kyle? Because I'll be honest, I didn't.
I've watched briefly.
Oh, I've done it again.
You've done what again? Ah, damn it. You
mentioned your cousin.
You mentioned my cousin, you know. That job's going to get pretty full very, very, very quickly.
It's going to pay for the Christmas night out.
Winner! But yeah, honestly, overall, for me, AEW, I'm liking how they're doing some of the feuding with Swerve.
Okay.
And Daniel Bryan and... Bryan Danielson. Because I always get it the wrong way round. Yeah.
You have to put a pound in the jaw as well now.
Yeah. Well, because it's a regular, I'll put in two. No, but the weird thing about it is how they did it, and they're actually where the whole feud is. You clearly see who the American Dragon is. Definitely the face. Swerve Strickland, he is a face, and the crowd are still saying whose house, but he seems to be treading that line. You know that he's threading that. You know he's willing to do anything, and he will attack Bryan at any time. And the fact that he made Wheeler Yuta a victim, of the cause, and then while the American Dragon is checking up on him, comes out and just bam.
Yeah. And do you know what? I'm gonna give you my biggest issue with AEW now, right? And that's one of the best things that happened on the show this week. Right.
Not quite.
So, hold on. So, Dustin Rhodes is now a double champion in AEW.
Yeah.
But he's not a double champion in AEW. He's a double champion on Ring of Honor that he won on an AEW show. I've gone cross-eyed.
Yeah.
It's so convoluted.
He's technically a double champion in ROH.
Yeah. So, he's a double champion in Ring of Honor, but we're not in Ring of Honor. We're in AEW.
Yeah.
What a mess. Right. So, how many different sets of tag team champions are there on AEW TV?
No, I agree with you on that. There's too many champions.
Not everyone can be a champion of something.
100%. And this is where I'll actually agree with you on this one, because I think ROH should be completely separate from AEW.
Agreed.
100%. And I've seen when they put them all under one house, it can get a little bit diluted.
Yeah. Feels a bit like if we've got the AEW tag team titles, who the champions are...
Young Bucks.
The Young Bucks, right? And we're supposed to care about the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
Because they're the AEW tag team champions.
And
the number one tag team in AEW.
And also the EVPs.
Yeah, but they're the number one tag team in AEW.
Yep.
Right? So why do I care about the Ring of Honor tag team champions?
Yeah. I get where you're coming from.
Because I just don't. You know, I just don't.
It's a bit convoluted, and this is where I agree with you. And the one thing I do find... The one aspect I think they've done for ROH and the whole AEW is Big Show isn't on AEW right now. Big Show's now more so like a general manager on ROH.
Well, good for him.
And it seems to be fitting a nice little role there for him character-wise, even though there was rumour of him wrestling again. But
no, but being general manager of Ring of Honor is like, you know, being store manager of a card factory. That doesn't mean anything, does it?
Bit harsh.
Well, no, that might be a bit harsh, but I think it's right. Like, being general manager of Ring of Honor means absolutely nothing.
But it does. But the thing is, somebody has to fill that role, and I feel as though Big Show fits into it. Because if you think about it, like I said, you know, card factory, somebody's got to get them cards out. Otherwise, you know, certain people's anniversaries are going to get missed, and people are going to be getting upset. No flowers. God.
No, but what I'm saying is, Paul White should be doing much more than general managing Ring of Honor on screen.
Yeah.
Right? Or he shouldn't be anywhere near anything. Right? We should either use Paul White, the Big Show, yeah, no more BS.
Yep.
Yeah, or we shouldn't.
And yeah, it just feels like there's more BS right now.
We're just using him a bit. Oh, let's make him a general manager of Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That's almost as bad as making you a tag team champion of Ring of Honor. Or a trios tag team champion on Ring of Honor. You know, it just means nothing, does it?
Oh, ouch. Claws are out today.
No, but it doesn't mean anything, does it?
Claws are out today, aren't they?
This is how I feel about AEW. I'm the trios champion of Ring of Honor. Who cares, man?
The next thing I want to cover for AEW, MJF.
Okay, yeah, I can get on board with MJF. Disappointed he decided to stay in AEW this year.
Right. Okay. I think at the moment, they've uplifted a championship right now with MJF, with his character.
Oh right, yeah. So this is this is AEW's version of a Legends title. What do they call it? The international title.
International title, which is meant. No. Well, I think what he's doing is quite clever, but at the same time, I feel as though he should be above it already.
So what's he called it?
He's called it it's now the American.
Okay, so he's called it the United States Championship.
Near enough, yeah.
Right, okay. So that's cool. I like that. He's making it worth something.
And he's changed the stars and stripes on the flag to where the stars are. It's his head.
Nice.
So he's proper upsetting people. Although I will say, Wrestle Talk had him on it as a guest.
Right.
What? Anybody who has MJF on the show, make sure you do your homework on what you said of anybody, because it will come back and bite you with MJF.
Wow, what happened?
He pretty much just remember sitting there saying, you know, a bit like how everyone's up there saying how I'm mid and everything, because they were saying that a certain storyline that he was doing was mid, and he just goes, and yeah, it was one of my biggest buy rates. But then again, some UK tabloids just run their mouths off a bit too quickly. This is on the interview, crapping themselves.
Oh dear,
because it was them. That's what it made it worse.
Oh dear, that's like getting caught with you hand in the cookie jar, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, anything else from AEW this week?
Well, I know that other members of the Rhodes family have also done dark matches as well. There's that, but I think for the time being, it's mostly all roads leading to
All In.
All In.
Okay, well, let me ask a question then, because I haven't watched this week's episodes of AEW, and I don't plan to.
Yeah.
Was my favourite wrestler of all time on the show this week? That's JEFF, JARRETT.
Yes.
Was he? Double J was on?
Yes.
What did Double J get up to? This is the segment we're going to call, What Did Double J Get Up To?
He has been lately a centrepiece for AEW. He has. He has been absolutely synonymous with trying to get the American Dragon's head in the game. Okay. And the way he's come across, honestly, he's no longer a full... There's no way he's a heel. There's the way ever since...
And this all stemmed from the Owen Hart tournament, didn't it?
Since then, Double J has been absolutely on fire. I'll be honest with you. If he doesn't get a championship shot or a reign, I will... chairs are going to go flying.
Words out, guys. I've been saying it for a long time, but first time on this podcast. But Double J, he is the main man. Shall we move on to SmackDown?
NXT or SmackDown?
Let's do SmackDown.
SmackDown.
SmackDown this week, I think the only thing to talk about for me is Roman Reigns' burial. Let's use the word burial.
Shoveled.
I don't think he necessarily was buried. That's what's being talked about in some of the websites.
Well, it's not like he's being buried alive.
We'll get there. We'll get there. That's a call forward. No,
yeah.
that's a big steaming pile of foreshadowing.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, so we've got Roman Reigns this week. Came out to confront Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and that was it. There was no Tama Loa this week. No, there was no Tama Loa this week. So he came out to the new entrance music, which we love. WWE I Am Greatness, absolutely fantastic theme, and I definitely think a level up from his head of the table theme.
I think his head of his table theme is perfect as a heel.
Yeah,
it's a face.
Yeah,
the transition.
Do you know what it feels like? We mentioned slightly Doctor Who earlier on, didn't we? With the whole the Burning Truth regenerated, and obviously I'm a bit of a Doctor Who fan.
Who have you?
I remember when they changed the theme for Doctor Who, and they added the drum beat in. Halfway through when David Tennant was the Doctor, and that's what it feels like with Roman Reigns. They've added a drum beat that is absolutely phenomenal.
It just sets that tone.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So Roman Reigns appears. The OTC. It's got to be only Tribal Chief, because if it's original Tribal Chief, it's a ridiculous.
Get out.
Yeah, get out. It's a ridiculous bit of marketing if it is. It's got to be the only Tribal Chief. Comes to the ring, starts laying waste, but the numbers game get to him when Jacob Fatu appears. And
I will say, part of me was like, the fan in me was like, oh no, Roman's going to get beat up. But at the same time, I was like, thank God Jacob Fatu wasn't seriously injured.
Yeah, he did have the boot on though.
But even so...
Yeah, he's still fighting through the boot.
Yeah.
So Jacob Fatu comes in and does the business on Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns laid out in the middle of the ring, and the new bloodline with the fingers up.
Yeah, and the look on Roman's face when he came across Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
It was just...
And absolutely phenomenal piece of television. Another amazing beat in this bloodline story. But it does open the door now that Roman needs help, which is what we want. We want Roman to need help. On the road to Survivor Series, Roman needs help so we can do Bloodline versus Bloodline at War Games. That's what this is leading to. That's what we want. Where is Roman's help? For me, it's the OG Bloodline. And if we can get Sammy, who's out of that Intercontinental picture now, if we can get Jimmy, who's knocking about somewhere, and if we can get Jay on board, we get OG Bloodline versus New Bloodline in War Games. I mean, get your special sock out, nerds, because it is happening.
Philip J. Fry, eat your heart out. Take my money!
Isn't it? Take my money. And I think, that's what we all want for Survivor Series. Hopefully we get there.
That would just be it wouldn't be like 1, 2, it'd be like 20, 40.
I think you'd be printing money, and because from there you've got singles match potentially with Roman and Solo. After you've got singles match with Roman and Jacob Fatu, you've got tag matches galore. Usos versus Tongas, the Tamatongas, Tamaloas.
But at the same time, some have actually speculated, where does The Rock fit in this?
And The Rock fits in once Roman's back on top,
taking care of Solo.
That's when The Rock comes out, and you get a heel Rock versus a face Roman at this year's WrestleMania.
Oh,
yeah. The final boss versus the head of the table.
Final boss versus the OTC.
Yep. Take my money again.
How have they done this? It's just that timeline. They've done it phenomenal.
And not necessarily what they planned, I don't think, or maybe it was what they planned.
No, I think it wasn't originally planned. If you watch the WrestleMania documentary,
yeah,
compared to it wasn't.
But once they got to WrestleMania, they said, "What's next?"
I think the second they followed that bread trail that the fans were leading them to, it was literally there it is. Boom, we've got this, and it's actually ended up inadvertently made it so it's just spread it out a little bit longer, but that payoff.
Absolutely, I agree, 100%, and that is the end of this week's wrestling. Yeah,
because I know we could cover NXT and everything, but at the moment in time, I feel as though it's just a little bit samey.
We got to move on, Kyle. But we got to move on, Matt Beans. Got to move on.
Yeah, there we go. Mentioning me cousin again. But anyway, we've got to move on because the wrestling business is pretty much always ongoing and always fast.
So let's do Buried Alive.
Buried Alive.
Buried Alive is a concept that me and Matt Beans have come up with. It's basically our version of Room 101, where we'll both be choosing one thing that we think should be erased from wrestling history and we want to bury alive. We'll then decide between us what gets buried alive and what gets to continue in the wrestling business. Going forward, what we would like are your suggestions on what should be buried alive that we can rate, and we can decide one thing to be buried alive. You can get your suggestions by sending us a message on our website. That's theburningtruthuk.com.
Yep.
You can send us an email, info@theburningtruthuk.com,
yep,
or put a comment on the YouTube page and we'll see it on there.
YouTube, social media, we're pretty much practically everywhere.
So send us a message and we'll make that happen. Also, if you're listening to us anywhere but YouTube, make sure you check out the Burning Truth UK podcast on YouTube and give us a subscribe on there. We'd really appreciate it.
The good thing about it is we're on Spreaker, we're on Apple, we're on, if I'm not mistaken, we're on Spreaker, we're everywhere.
Yeah, but we'd really like to see you on YouTube.
We'd like to see you on YouTube, definitely. We always have a little bit extra on there sometimes.
So here is Buried Alive. I tell you what, this week, Matt Beans, why don't we start with your suggestion for Buried Alive?
Oh, mine, I was stuck between two of them. And the other thing about it is, both segments involve one person in it. And I feel sorry for him.
Okay.
Boss man.
The big boss man.
Big boss man.
Okay. So you think the big boss man should go in?
No.
Be buried alive?
No, I don't think the big boss man.
I mean, the poor guy's already been hung.
Oh my! Wow. Trust me, you actually brought up one of them.
Okay, so let's see what should be buried alive.
In my head, I'm sitting there thinking: do we ignore the hanging, or do we do the whole him and Al Snow situation?
That's on you.
I am going to go with the whole Big Boss Man and Al Snow situation, because what the actual hell?
Okay. Right, I'm going to give you something very different to that, and then we can decide what we think goes in. My nomination to be buried alive this week is the Prime Hydration Station. And it's not necessarily... it's not necessarily the relationship with Prime. I'm on board with Prime. I've got some bottles of WWE Prime at home, right?
Oddly enough, yeah. I've had some myself.
I'm on board with Prime. The kids love it. Fair dues. What I'm not on board with, right, is that every single match they use the Prime Hydration Station as a weapon. And nobody's getting DQ'd, Matt Burns. Nobody's getting DQ'd for hitting this Prime Hydration Station. That big bottle looks heavy. It's full of Prime.
What makes me laugh is the fact that they've got it there, and yet we don't actually see anybody drinking from it either. No one's hydrating. No one's hydrating.
You just want to see somebody halfway through a match come out and have a quick sip.
Free advertisement right there.
Definitely should be doing that. You're right. Yeah, so that's why the Prime Hydration Station should be buried alive.
Part of me does agree with you, but at the same time, the fact that we're actually getting a reaction from it makes me not want to. Whereas I feel as though the whole Bossman feud with Al Snow, that was just...
Nobody wants to relive that, do they?
Nobody wants to relive that. The fact that we actually had the Kennel and Hell match.
Yeah, where the dogs were pooing in the corner.
and the rest.
Yeah.
And the rest, if I'm not mistaken, because someone didn't check if they were in heat. Whoopsie!
Horny dogs on pay-per-view. That's all they needed. Okay, so we agreed then.
And then we've also got the fact of what happened to a certain little dog.
Yeah. So we're gonna bury alive the Bossman Al Snow feud from 1999, 2000?
I think it is, yeah. It's just...
Yeah. Okay. That was us shoveling.
Good God.
We've buried alive Bossman and Al Snow's feud. Oh, and does that mean I can't bring the Prime Hydration Station up again? I think that means I'm not allowed to bring it up again. That was the rules, I think.
No. I think we can do it after so long.
Okay, we'll come back to it eventually.
Eventually we'll come back to it.
We're all going to get sick of him hitting that Prime Hydration Station and not getting DQ'd, I'm telling you.
Eventually, if it doesn't happen, I think I might just throw it in. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we shall now move on to, if I'm not mistaken, it's your hand-picked segment?
Yeah, I like this one. So this is a segment that I call Top 3. And this is where I'm going to ask Matt Burns to rate his top 3 of any chosen topic. And we've had loads of topics that we've thought about giving to him. We've thought about, flavours of crisps. We've thought about his favourite breakfast cereals. We've thought about, favourite wrestlers of all time. But this week, for the first one, what I wanted to ask Matt Burns is what are his top 3 wrestling years? Oh. Cue Mastermind music.
That's tough.
It is tough. That's why I've asked you.
It's tough. I think I'm trying to remember the years, because at the moment the whole Attitude Era was just a blur to me. I know at least which one was the year of Mick Foley and Triple H. Royal Rumble.
2000.
Automatically number 1.
Really?
Automatically, because that feud with Triple H and Mick Foley for me.
That's your feud.
That was a feud, and the fact is the whole storyline with Mick Foley. I'm not being biased that people have literally compared me to him because of the hair. It's got nothing to do with that. But for me...
Yeah, you certainly won't take the same bumps.
No, hell no. Hell no! The fact is, that entire feud literally left me with a tear. At the whole end of it. When you had him doing that, and then the whole backlash, that feud just bam. That was it. It was done, and I'm just trying to remember when the end of the Attitude Era was as well.
I mean, you could say the end of the Attitude Era was probably 2002, but I find it difficult because the Attitude Era bled into the Invasion.
For me, I feel as though the Attitude Era came down for when it was Austin and Rock and the whole Vince thing.
Yeah.
For me, it was.
I think the Attitude Era went on a bit longer than that because you still had, the Kurt Angle and Stone Cold and Vince McMahon all singing backstage with little cowboy hats on, and I think the Attitude Era did carry on a bit further than that. But for me, the Attitude Era probably finished when we got the F out.
Yeah.
Which was just around brand split time.
It's about, yeah. It's tough for me because at the same time, we've got the attitude of when the Rattlesnake rose up as well. And the weird thing about it is, I can remember the great matches, the great pay-per-views. Remembering the years, that's a whole different story for me.
So 2000, number one for you.
Yeah.
A year in which we had Cactus Jack versus Triple H,
Street
at
fight.
Hell in the Cell, the Street Fight.
The Street Fight, the Backlash, WrestleMania Four Corners.
Yeah.
The reason why is it was more so because of the whole Triple H and Mick Foley situation. That just cemented it for
The Undertaker's return as the American Badass.
Yep.
We had quite a lot that year, didn't we? Okay, so 2000. What's your next one? Is that number 3 or number 1? Started at number 1.
Number 1.
That's not normally how we do top 3s, but it started at number 1, ladies and gentlemen.
I've had to because for me that just it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Okay.
I would say the one down from that is, as I was saying, is the year that we had the second Rock versus Austin.
2001.
2001.
For WrestleMania 17.
Yeah.
And then the Invasion. So the year of the Invasion is your number 2 best year ever for wrestling.
It was because of the whole... It was building up. It was my way or the highway.
Okay. So 2000 and 2001 are your number 1 and number 2 respectively.
Yeah, I know. Respectively. I know it might shock you.
It does. Absolutely, it does.
But if I'm going to go a bit further back, I'm going to go way further back. This is during... I've got to go with the year of the Rattlesnake.
97?
97.
Or 98 when he won the belt?
When he won the belt.
So 98 he won the belt from
98.
Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. I've got to go 98 simply because... You know what? No, I'm going to switch 2 and 3.
Okay. So number 3, you're going 2001.
Yeah.
Number 2, you're going 98.
Yeah.
And number 3, you're going 2000.
2000.
Wow.
That's... For me, the reason why is because I remember watching it quite vividly for the years. And the weird thing about it is, I could have gone much sooner. And I know I could have. But most of my memories are literally in that time. And it just sticks out like a sore thumb for me. I think probably because with Mick Foley, it was so relatable. It was so relatable, and I sit there, I thought to myself, when they did the whole angle with Triple H, and fair play to Triple H with the Royal Rumble, with the whole leg situation, because my God, if you know, you know, and if you don't, look it up, because my God, the fact that he had that is it piece of wood sticking in his leg, and he still finished the match.
Unbelievable.
I think it's more or less of... I think if you asked me a few years ago, I would have given you much different answers. I think it's because of me going back on the WWE Network and rewatching some of the stuff.
Yeah,
I've actually gained a bit more respect for it for them years, for solid moments.
And you know what? That will just about wrap up our top 3. What's your top 3? Let us know.
Yeah, is this my moment?
This is your moment, yeah.
My moment, which is, I believe you were a fan of a certain YouTube, other channel that used to do rebookings. Rebook this.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with the rebooking.
Yeah. And I remember you saying to me, pick something for us. Pick us something special. You asked for it, didn't you?
What have you done?
Rebook how the Undertaker's WrestleMania streak ends.
Oh, no. Because on one hand, right, the Undertaker's streak is perfect.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar was the right person at the right time, went on to have one of the best runs in recent memory in WWE, annihilated everyone, and then put over wrestler after wrestler after wrestler. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, absolutely went on a tear of putting people over. I mean, we forget what a massive show he gave to Keith Lee in the Rumble that year.
Yes.
You know, he was so giving towards the end of that run. So and to be fair, let's be honest, he battered The Undertaker, and then he gave John Cena 16 suplexes, and he went on an absolute tear. But then at the end of that reign, he really gave back, and that's what makes me think sometimes that, you know what, they absolutely made the right decision with the streak, but they could have done that without him beating the streak.
Yeah.
He still could have annihilated John Cena.
Yep.
He still could have gone on to be champion for however long it was.
Yep.
He still could have then put over all those guys because he was Brock Lesnar.
Yep. The real question is Brock was already a household name.
So what would I have done differently? And it would be really easy to say, oh yeah, Bray Wyatt should have beat him, or Roman Reigns should have beat him, or Giant Gonzalez should have beat him, or the A-Train and Mark Henry should have beat him 2-on-1.
No. You don't mention them last two. No. Just no.
But if I was going to reboot the streak, and I could go back to any point in history to change it round, the streak first started getting talked about with the Randy Orton feud.
Yes.
The Legend Killer. And we were making Randy Orton in this. Yeah, it was. And we were making Randy Orton at this time. We had Cowboy Bob in his corner, and we had Randy versus The Undertaker. The first time we'd really talked about the streak and the legend of The Undertaker and the Legend Killer that was Randy Orton. If I was going to go back to any point in history, I'd have pulled the trigger on Randy Orton in that moment. And I'll tell you for why. It's because he probably needed it. He'd had the face turn against Triple H that hadn't gone so well.
Yeah.
He'd then turned back heel. He was floundering in a world where Batista was a major babyface and John Cena was coming through. He needed heat. He needed to be the next massive heel in the business.
Yeah.
And he would have got that by beating The Undertaker in that moment. And the fact is he didn't. So if I was going to rebook the streak, I would have ended it much sooner, and I would have had Randy Orton beat him in that moment. And I know that's probably a really controversial take, but we have just also discussed that I probably wouldn't change it in honesty. But if I was going to, that's what I would do.
Nope, and that's where, the weird thing about it is, part of me, it was as you were saying, I was sitting there thinking, I'm about to disagree with it, and obviously she mentioned Randy Orton, Legend Killer, I just went,
yeah, no. It's because it makes sense, right? So it might not be popular, but at least it makes sense.
I think it might have been a little bit better, instead of it being at that moment, if it was a little bit later.
Yeah.
Potentially.
And I toyed with the idea of Edge as well.
Oh, yeah. Edge was one that Edge got told he was the man. And he was the one who just went, nope.
Yeah, and then, also, the second Shawn Michaels match, nobody actually wanted Shawn to retire. And we knew he was going to, and all the rest of it, and that's fine. But actually, God, can you imagine if Shawn had pulled off the upset?
Especially, with that build-up, running up that hill.
But yeah, so that's my pick, I think. So,
yeah.
Although I probably wouldn't change it, if I'm being totally honest, if I had to, gun pointed to my head, Randy Orton, finishing the streak much earlier.
The reason why I picked that topic is because I knew there'd be controversy somewhere. And the weird thing about it is, whether you agree with Scott, whether you don't, tell us. Let us know.
That's the whole point. Just like we talked about, just like we talked about the top threes, and we talked about the buried alives earlier on. We'll absolutely take your topics and start discussing them on here. So again, if you've got a rebook this that you absolutely want us to talk about, send it in. We'll have a look. On the website, email us info@theburningtruthuk.com, YouTube, comments, anywhere, social media. Let us know.
Yeah, and genuinely, as long as we'll cover them topics, just as long as we don't have anything to do with legality or anything, or put us in deep waters. I think.
Yeah, we can't afford a lawyer, guys. So.
One of us can, just to cover themselves. I'm not saying which one's which. But yeah.
And that brings us to the end of this week's The Burning Truth Live Regenerated.
Yeah, definitely. And, I want to hear your intake in regards to this. myself, because it's a different format. It's something new. It's something different.
You tell us what you like, what you don't like, and we'll probably keep the stuff you don't, because controversy creates viewers, hopefully, and all listeners. So from me, thank you very much for listening. It's been amazing joining The Burning Truth. Excelsior.
Oh, I like that little touch there. So, for myself, that's Scott just is done, and for myself, Matt Burns, I'm just going to say thank you very much for listening in. We hope to hear from you next week, and who knows, the rejuvenation could still be continuing, or we could already have the right format. Let us know. Until then, catch you later.
Excelsior!